Hello everyone and welcome to the last section of Science 10 notes for this year. We're going to look at Earth's biomes. So you can see we're at page 391 to 402, so the very end of the book. And so Earth's biomes are present because environmental conditions vary so greatly in our biosphere. And so biomes are just a large geographical area that has its own particular range of temperature, and precipitation. So those are the two factors that are going to be determining what biomes you're in, is the temperature and precipitation. So not only that, not only those conditions, but also the kind of organisms that you would find in that area. So also the animals and plants that are adapted to those conditions. So they have to be adapted to that specific climate, to those conditions of precipitation and temperature. Okay. Biomes are open systems. Open systems, by definition, exchange both matter and energy with their surroundings. Closed systems don't do that. Closed systems, they can exchange energy, but not matter. Okay, so for example, when people talk about Earth as a spaceship, so they say spaceship Earth, because yes, energy can come in and out. We get energy from the sun. We know that our energy comes in from the sun, and it is used by the organisms, and then it is released back into the universe as heat. But we don't get any more matter. Once we use up all the matter that we have on our planet, we have finite resources. Once we use all that, we can't get any more. And so that's why Earth is a closed system. Whereas biomes are open systems in the sense that organisms can come in and out. So matter can come in and out, energy can come in and out. And so this energy that comes in from the sun is used to maintain things like temperature, provide food through photosynthesis for all of the organisms. And then, like I said, those organisms come in, they can migrate in, they can migrate out, they are born, they die, so they are exchanged again with their surroundings. Now, there are 6 different Earth biomes. These are terrestrial biomes. We also know that we have water biomes. And water biomes are things like the oceans, the fresh lakes, the rivers, estuaries, where you have a mix of both salt water and fresh water. But we're going to be dealing just with terrestrial biomes. So there are 6 different ones: the tundra, the taiga, the deciduous forest, the grassland, the desert, and the rainforest. And we're going to look at these individually, just some of their characteristics. So we'll start with the tundra, which is the frozen desert. And this is found around the Arctic Circle. Includes North America and parts of Eurasia. And what we see in the tundra is the annual amount of insolation is the lowest among all biomes. So given that we have very little insolation, what we're going to see here is we're going to have an energy deficit. Remember that we said at the equator, we have an energy surplus, lots of insolation in that area, whereas here is where we're going to have energy deficit. Okay, and then not only do we have an energy deficit because we have low insolation, but we also have high albedo. So high reflectivity due to the ice and snow. So whatever heat does come in, it doesn't necessarily stay. It gets reflected back out. And so then what we see is the temperatures are quite low. We're going to have low annual precipitation, which is going to lead to a very short life cycle. For plants. And because of these extreme conditions, we're going to have animals that are very highly adapted. So they have to have very specific characteristics in behavior, in structure, and functioning that allows them to live in this area. So what are we looking at in terms of precipitation? In terms of precipitation, we have over 20 centimeters of precipitation per year, but it's usually in the form of snow. So not easily accessible by plants. And because of this high albedo and low insolation, the temperatures have an average of minus 15 to about 5 degrees Celsius. So not very warm at all. And so we are going to have very short summers, only about 20 to 30 days of summer. The rest of it is going to feel pretty wintry. So the plants here, again, they have to be highly adapted. You're looking at things like lichen. Lichen is a combination of an algae and a mushroom and a fungus that live together in such high proximity and in such close proximity that they can't live without one another. So it's a symbiotic relationship. We're going to find mosses and things like sedges. So all plants that can sort of survive high sunshine, so they don't need shade, and that's, you don't get a lot of sunshine, so you want to those plants that can actually deal with it. And then you might get maybe a few dwarf woody shrubs, but even these are going to be very few and far between. So because of that, we're going to have a lot of migratory birds, mostly in summer. Those birds might make it to there. Some of their nesting grounds, breeding grounds might be up here, and then they leave for the winter. Arctic foxes, snowshoe hares, little rodents like lemmings. You might find maybe caribou, the larger ungulates like caribou and reindeer. And then when it comes to predators, wolves. Polar bears, in fact, are only found in the tundra. Okay, they're only found in the North Pole. They're not found anywhere else. Okay, so very, very highly adapted organisms for these areas. So next, we're going to find the taiga. It's just found south of the tundra. You can also, sometimes this is known as the boreal forest. It's dominated by evergreens. Like fir and pine and spruce. Like I said, this is also known as the boreal forest. Okay. It has more annual precipitation. It has higher temperatures and longer growing seasons than the tundra. Here, animals are going to have behavioral adaptations like hibernation. So they hibernate. The birds migrate, and some animals can change coat colors. Conifers have needles to help it with the long cold winters. Water is frozen, so we want to make sure that they can survive in those characteristics. Again, and what are those characteristics? We're looking anywhere between 40 to 100 centimeters per year of precipitation. So you can see how the precipitation is increased. The temperature also increases a little bit. We get to anywhere 4 to 14 degrees Celsius is what the average is. And you're going to have some cool summers and cold winters. So if we had to sort of look at this would be like a northern Alberta scenario. Northern Alberta, low Northwest Territories. Okay. And you're going to have cone bearing evergreens. Maybe also still a few lichens and mosses. More shrubs in this area. The animals, we're going to see things like woodpeckers, chickadees, hawks, eagles for birds. You're going to see some, again, rodents like voles, rabbits you're going to see, and squirrels. With the trees, we're going to have also these animals. And again, you're going to find, you can see here there's a lot. I start to list animals. You start to think like, oh, you know, Banff National Park, right? Bear, lynx, foxes, wolves. You're going to see these animals there. Then we move into the deciduous forest. This one is distinguished by trees that will lose their leaves in the fall, like oaks, maples, and ash. So here, parts of North America and South America, Europe, Asia, Australia. So this is what you would see in, central Alberta. We see longer growing season, higher temperatures in the taiga. And as we get the conditions that have a longer growing season and higher temperature, we increase the diversity in the plants and animal species that are found in the area. Okay, the water may be limited in winter because it's in the form of snow and ice. So then the trees will lose their leaves, but then they'll get them back in the summer because the precipitation is not always frozen like it might be, for example, in the tundra or in the higher taiga. So here you can see some of the characteristics. Again, we see that our precipitation is going up, temperatures are going up. You have well-defined seasons, the difference between summer and winter. And you can see again the number of species increases as we go into these areas. Okay, so we have a lot more diversity that we had in the other two. Grassland, so we're looking here, for example, the prairies. So here we are, southern Alberta, for example, grassy with few to no trees due to the lack of precipitation. The grasslands, they can found in pretty much every continent. North America has the prairies, Africa has the savanna, and same with Central America and Australia. You're going to find these kinds of conditions that are dry. And so here plants will have these longer roots so that they can tap into water that is a little bit maybe difficult to find. And then they die as to winter as a seed rather than a whole plant. And then that seed will germinate again in the spring and continue growing. Okay. And you can see here we start seeing people that are growing crops on grasslands like us, wheat, corn, canola, and produce grazing animals. So cattle, big cattle industry in southern Alberta that we see. The precipitation, as you see here, the temperatures are sort of in between there. We have winter and summer seasons as well. You can see grasses, mice, gophers, buffalo, all of those kinds of animals. And it depends also obviously where you are. You're not going to find elephants and giraffes in Alberta. But when you move into the savanna biome in Africa, you're going to find elephant and giraffe and antelopes and cheetahs and lions and all that. Okay. And then we get into the rainforest. The rainforest here, now we are increasing our precipitation and our temperature. This is the richest area in terms of diversity for all of biomes. We're looking at warm temperatures, moist conditions, plants that grow all year round, and many, 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 many animals, insects, birds. You can see here the precipitation, the temperature. Might not even have a dry season because, rainforest, so we're not looking at a defined winter and summer. It's pretty much summer all the time. And finally, we get into the desert. So now we are increasing those temperature further, but we're removing water. And so less than 25 centimeters per year precipitation, very little plant life because again, no water accessible, even though there's lots of insolation and sunlight. It does not retain the thermal energy because there's no water. We talked about when we did specific heat capacity, how water is an energy sink and an energy source, that it'll absorb energy during the day and release it at night, mitigating the climate. Well, here we don't have that. So there is no water to absorb that heat. So it gets really, really hot during the day. And there's no water to release that heat at night. So the temperature difference is quite drastic between the day and night. So some animals are adapted to those kinds of conditions where you're going to have a lot of nocturnal animals. So nocturnal, they're only going to be active at night because it's cooler, and therefore they don't have to deal with those really, really severe temperatures. And you can see here again the conditions. We have 25 centimeters, high temperatures, days are hot, nights are cold. You're going to see the plants are going to be more succulents. Succulents are going to be the ones that retain water within their tissues, quite a bit of water. Okay, or drought tolerant plants, right? That they can live long periods of time. They have such deep roots that they can deal with those low water conditions. And you can see here the animals quite adapted to that kind of environment. Again, a lot of them nocturnal. And so here, a couple of things. I'm gonna undo that. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna get that page out of here. I'm going to add a blank page. Let's see if it'll let me add just a blank page. So you can see here what are Canada's biomes we talked about: the tundra, the taiga, grassland, and deciduous forest. We have all those three. But the one thing I wanted to leave you with is one thing that you would see in your textbook as well, so you can have a look in your textbook, is sort of the difference between the average temperature and precipitation. So what happens is I increase the temperature and then I increase the precipitation. So we see here low temperature, low precipitation, we get the tundra. But if we go into the other extreme where low precipitation but high temperature, we're going to get a hot desert. Okay. And as we go into the highest extremes of highest precipitation, highest temperatures, we get that tropical rainforest. And then we get into deciduous and grassland with still high temperatures as the precipitation decreases. Okay. If we get ourselves in the middle, we get sort of the high precipitation, mid temperatures, we get the temperate forest, and then deciduous, and then finally grassland. And then here, this is that boreal forest or the taiga, where we have sort of lowish precipitation, lowish temperatures, and we get that. So I wanted you to have sort of an idea of all of them right there. So then now for your project, you can choose any of the organisms that I've listed here for your question, to answer the question. Or you can choose one of your own. You can do a little bit of research, see what animals grow in the biome that you've chosen. And then don't forget to reply to one of your classmates with a way in which humans have affected their biome. Okay, is there anything that they've done to sort of mess things up? And that is it for our Science 10 notes. This is the last section, and I will see you all tomorrow at our Google Meet. Bye-bye.